Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Today, we're going to break down what a potential invasion of Taiwan could actually look like, and it really is a numbers game. We'll explore the strategy and some surprising tech that's changing the entire security picture in the Taiwan Strait. And hey, if you find this kind of breakdown useful, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. It really helps us out.
Now just let that sink in for a second. That claim, which is based on analysis from the Center for Transportation Strategies, is pretty staggering. It points to a massive shift in the military balance of the Taiwan Strait. But the big question is, how on earth are numbers like that even possible? Well, the answer is a lot more complex and, frankly, a lot more clever than you might think.
All right, so let's start by digging into those headline figures. It's absolutely crucial to understand where each number comes from, because they tell two very different parts of the same story.
Okay, so that first number, 21,000 troops. According to the analysis, this is what China's official, dedicated military amphibious fleet can carry in one go. In a single initial assault. This is the professional, purpose-built landing force. Think of it as the tip of the spear in any potential operation.
But how do you leap from 21,000 to a mind-boggling 300,000? Well, that massive figure is only possible by mobilizing a huge fleet of civilian ships. And this strategy, using everyday vessels, goes way beyond traditional naval power. It's about harnessing the country's entire maritime strength, and it is the absolute core of what we're exploring today.
But before we get to that whole civilian fleet thing, which is fascinating, it's really important to understand the foundation this all sits on. This entire strategy only works because of the incredible growth of China's conventional naval power, the People's Liberation Army Navy, or the Plan.
And when I say incredible growth, I mean it. The scale of the expansion is just staggering. The Plan is commissioning somewhere between 20 to 25 brand new warships every single year. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that rate of production just completely blows a historic naval power like the UK's Royal Navy out of the water. It really shows you the sheer pace of China's modernization.
And look, it's not just about having the ships, right? It's about being able to coordinate them. For instance, a recent large-scale exercise involved around 100 naval and Coast Guard vessels all operating together. This showed a growing ability to manage really complex operations across huge areas of ocean, and that's a critical skill for any kind of cross-strait scenario.
So when you put this into context, you start to see a very clear pattern forming. If you look back to 2022, Five Eyes intelligence was already tracking commercial ferries taking part in military drills. You fast forward to that recent huge naval operation, and you combine that with Taiwan's own Ministry of Defense pointing to 2027 as a key year. Well, the pieces really start to fit together.
Which brings us right back to that crucial question. Even with this crazy expansion, the official Navy's amphibious fleet just can't move 300,000 people by itself. It's not big enough. So, how would they do it? Well, the answer lies in a strategy that completely blurs the lines between civilian and military.
And here it is. This is the answer. The key to that massive transport number is the civilian fleet, used as a force multiplier. And you gotta understand, this isn't just some backup emergency plan. It is a core part of a deliberate national strategy. We're talking about what some people call a second navy. And it's made up of vessels you would see every single day. Commercial ferries, those huge ro-ro cargo ships, the ones designed to just roll vehicles on and roll them off. And even fishing boats that are part of a state-controlled maritime militia. These are the ships that could carry the vast majority of an invasion force.
Now, this whole concept has an official name. It's called civil-military integration. It's a national strategy designed to literally fuse the civilian and military worlds. And the goal is pretty straightforward. Leverage every national asset you have, including commercial ships, to achieve military goals. This turns logistics and transport into a national project, not just a military one.
And from a tactical standpoint, this strategy is, well, it's pretty brilliant. The Taiwan Strait is one of the busiest shipping lanes on the planet. By using civilian ships, the early preparations for an invasion could be hidden in plain sight, just lost in the noise of normal commercial traffic. It's kind of like a modern-day Trojan horse, and it aligns perfectly with military doctrines that emphasize deception and surprise.
Okay, so you've got hundreds of thousands of troops on civilian ships, but that presents another huge problem, right? How do you get them and all their heavy equipment onto the shore? See, a traditional invasion would mean you have to capture a major port, and those are going to be heavily defended. Well, it turns out China is developing technology to bypass that problem entirely. Check this out. It works using these new auxiliary landing systems that are basically mobile floating piers. So an armored vehicle drives off a civilian ferry onto one of these special vessels. That vessel then unfolds this massive 120-meter-long ramp and lays it right onto the beach. The result? Landings are now possible almost anywhere along the coast. It dramatically expands the number of potential invasion sites from just a handful of ports to hundreds of miles of coastline.
So when you put all these pieces together, the rapidly growing Navy, the massive civilian fleet, and this new landing technology, what you get is a completely new paradigm. It's a whole new way of thinking about a cross-strait operation.
The shift is it's dramatic. On one side, you have the traditional model that relies on dedicated warships that have to attack fortified ports, which makes mobilization a lot easier to spot. But on the other side, you've got this new hybrid approach. It uses a mix of naval and civilian ships, it completely bypasses the ports, and it hides its preparations in plain sight. This is a fundamental change in the very nature of the threat.
And you can imagine this creates an absolute nightmare for Taiwan and its allies. I mean, think about it. How do you detect an invasion when it just looks like normal shipping? What are the rules of engagement for firing on a civilian-registered ferry that you know is packed with troops? And how do you defend hundreds of miles of coastline now that basically any beach could be a landing zone?
Ultimately, all of this brings us to one final critical question that this analysis really forces us to confront. When the line between civilian and military is deliberately erased, when a commercial ferry can become a troop ship overnight, how does the world even begin to prepare for and hopefully deter a conflict?
All right, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If this analysis was helpful, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. We genuinely love to hear your thoughts on this, so please share them in the comments section below, and don't forget to join our community on social media. All the links for that are in the description. We'll see you next time.